The night sky above Earth was quiet, calm, and dark. Stars blinked faintly, and the wind whispered through tall pine trees. But far beyond the calm clouds, something broke the silence. A small alien ship cut through the sky like a burning arrow. Its silver body shook, sparks flying from its engines. Inside, two alien sisters, Lyra and Nexa, held onto the controls, panic in their bright blue eyes. "System failure," Nexa said in a trembling voice. Her soft skin glowed faintly under the red alarm lights. "We are falling." Lyra's hands moved quickly over the controls. "Hold tight. We can't crash in human territory." But it was too late. The ship trembled again, alarms screaming louder. Through the glass window, the dark blue planet grew larger and larger. With a thunderous sound, the ship cut through the atmosphere, glowing bright as a comet. In a forest outside a small human town, animals ran in fear as the ground began to shake. Then came a flash of white light and the ship disappeared behind the trees, crashing with a deep, echoing roar. Smoke rose into the cold air. The forest was silent again, except for the faint crackle of fire. The ship's door opened slowly with a hiss. Lyra stepped out first, her silver hair wet from the steam. Nexa followed, looking around with wide eyes. The air smelled strange, heavy with earth and life. "Is this Earth?" Nexa whispered. Her voice was soft, almost afraid. Lyra nodded. "Yes, we are here now." Their clothes were torn, their translator devices broken. They looked almost human, but their faintly glowing eyes and smooth pale blue skin made them seem otherworldly. They had trained for many things, but not this. In the distance, they saw the lights of a small town. Curious shapes moved there, humans. Lyra motioned for silence. "We must hide until we know what kind of beings they are." They dragged parts of their damaged ship into the shadows, trying to conceal it under fallen branches. The forest was dark and cold. Strange sounds surrounded them, chirping, rustling, growls in the dark. Nexa shivered. "I don't like this place. It's alive in ways I don't understand." "Stay close," Lyra said. Her voice was calm, but inside she was scared too. Hours passed. From far away they heard a new sound. A rumbling engine, bright lights cutting through the night. A human truck stopped near the crash site. A man stepped out, holding a flashlight. His name was Ethan, a mechanic who lived nearby. He had seen the strange light fall from the sky and came to check. As he walked closer, he saw the smoke, the torn trees, and the strange silver metal half buried in the ground. "What the hell?" he whispered, stepping closer. Behind a tree, the two sisters watched him silently. Lyra's heart raced. "He's one of them," she said. "A human." Ethan circled the ship. He touched the metal. It was warm, smooth, and covered with symbols he couldn't read. "This isn't from here," he muttered. His flashlight beam moved across the forest and landed for a moment on two glowing eyes staring back at him. He froze. "Who's there?" Lyra and Nexa didn't move. The light shifted again, closer this time. Ethan took a slow step forward. His instincts told him to run, but curiosity pulled him deeper into the dark. Then he saw them. Two women, but not human. Their skin shimmered softly, their eyes bright like crystals. They didn't speak. They only watched him carefully, like creatures unsure if he was a threat. Ethan took a deep breath. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said slowly, raising his hands. The aliens didn't understand his words, but they sensed his tone. Nexa stepped back nervously while Lyra tilted her head, curious. Ethan reached into his bag and took out a water bottle. He opened it and took a sip, then offered it to them. For a moment, no one moved. Then Lyra stepped forward. She took the bottle carefully, sniffed it, and drank. Her eyes widened in surprise. The cool water felt amazing on her tongue. Nexa followed, fascinated. Ethan smiled slightly. "See? It's okay." They still couldn't speak to him, but something small had changed. For the first time since crashing, they didn't feel fear. They felt curiosity. Behind them, the broken ship flickered again. The strange symbols on the hull began to glow faintly. Lyra noticed and looked back with worry. "The beacon is still active," she said in her language. Nexa gasped. "They will find us." Ethan didn't understand, but he noticed their sudden fear. "What's wrong?" he asked, looking around the forest. The sisters exchanged a look, then turned back toward the human. Lyra pointed to the ship, then the sky, trying to warn him. Ethan followed her hand, but saw nothing. "You came from up there, didn't you?" he whispered. The two aliens stood silent under the moonlight. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. Ethan lowered his flashlight slowly. "You're not from this world," he said softly. "Are you?" Lyra blinked once, then gave a small nod, and in that moment everything changed. The wind blew through the trees, carrying the smell of smoke and rain. Ethan looked at them, unsure if he should call for help or keep their secret. Behind them, thunder rolled in the distance. The sisters glanced up at the dark clouds. They didn't know yet that their arrival on Earth would change more than just their fate. It would soon test what it truly meant to be human. The morning sun rose slowly over the forest, turning the mist golden. Birds sang, unaware that something not of this world had fallen among them. Lyra and Nexa sat near the crashed ship, quiet and thoughtful. Their glowing eyes dimmed as the daylight touched their skin. They hadn't slept. All night strange sounds had filled their ears. Distant cars, dogs barking, thunder fading. The world around them felt alive and heavy with secrets. Nexa hugged her knees and whispered, "We can't stay here long." "The humans will come." Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, but one already found us, and he didn't attack." She looked toward the direction where Ethan had gone. The memory of the human offering water still puzzled her. On Valora 9, such kindness between species was rare. "Maybe. They are not all violent," she said softly. Nexa frowned. "You trust too easily, sister. We don't even know what they want." Before Lyra could answer, they heard the sound of footsteps again. Twigs cracked under heavy boots. The sound came closer, steady, human. Both aliens stood up quickly, ready to flee. But then they saw him. It was Ethan again, the same man from the night before. He had returned, this time carrying a backpack and a warm jacket. When he saw them, he stopped and raised his hands to show peace. "Hey, it's me," he said softly. "Don't run, okay?" The aliens didn't move. Their glowing eyes watched him carefully. Ethan crouched down, slowly opening his bag. He took out bread, fruit, and another bottle of water. He placed them on a flat rock between them and backed away. "Food," he said, pointing to it. "You need this." Lyra tilted her head, studying him. Nexa whispered something in their language, unsure if it was safe. But Lyra's curiosity was stronger than fear. She took a small step forward. Her long silver hair moved gently with the wind. She picked up the fruit and sniffed it. The smell was sweet, strange, and strong. She took a cautious bite and her eyes widened. "It's alive," she whispered. The taste was bright and full. Nexa tried too, amazed. Ethan smiled a little. "See? It's good." He sat on a fallen log nearby, not too close, giving them space. For a few minutes, none of them spoke. The air was filled only with the quiet sounds of nature. Slowly, the tension began to fade. Lyra pointed at him. "Human?" she said carefully. Ethan blinked in surprise. "Yes, human." "That's right." Then she pointed to herself. "Lyra," Ethan smiled. "Lyra." He repeated the name gently, and she seemed pleased. Nexa hesitated, then pointed to herself. "Nexa, nice to meet you," he said, his tone warm. They didn't understand the words, but they felt the kindness behind them. The strange moment felt almost peaceful. Two worlds trying to talk with no words. Suddenly, a distant siren echoed from the town below. The sound made Nexa jump. "What is that?" she asked in panic, looking around. Ethan noticed her fear. "It's okay," he said quickly. "Just machine noise. Not danger." But she didn't understand. Her heart raced, her breathing quickened. Lyra put a hand on her shoulder, calming her. Ethan stepped closer, slowly, showing his empty hands again. "It's all right," he said softly. "No one will hurt you." For the first time, Lyra looked directly into his eyes. They were not glowing like hers, but they held something she understood. Empathy. Still, she was cautious. She pointed to the sky, then at her broken ship. "Home," she said quietly. Then she lowered her eyes, shaking her head. "No home." Ethan understood enough. "You can't go back?" he asked. She stayed silent, but her face gave him the answer. He looked at their torn clothes and bruised arms. They looked fragile, but also strong in a strange way. "You need a safe place," he said to himself, thinking. "You can't stay here. Someone will find the crash." Lyra watched him, trying to read his expression. He pointed toward the town, then to himself. "My home," he said. "Safe." Nexa immediately shook her head. "No," she said, taking Lyra's arm. "Trap," but Lyra hesitated. Ethan's tone carried no danger, only concern. She looked at her sister. "We can't hide in the forest forever. He helped us once. Maybe he can again." Nexa's jaw tightened, but she finally nodded. Ethan saw their hesitation and smiled slightly. "Come on," he said, motioning for them to follow. "You'll be safe." They followed him slowly, their bare feet silent on the forest floor. As they walked, small rays of sunlight broke through the trees, touching their glowing skin like soft fire. For the first time, they stepped out of the forest and saw the human world. Roads, houses, cars, strange noises. It was overwhelming, Nexa whispered. So loud, so alive. Lyra looked ahead at Ethan. "Yes," she said softly, "alive. But not all danger." The camera of the story zooms in on their faces, curious, cautious, and glowing in the sunlight, as they walk behind the human who might change everything. Ethan walked carefully through the quiet back road that led to his small house at the edge of town. Behind him, Lyra and Nexa followed, their bare feet brushing against the grass. The morning sun was warm on their skin, and every sound around them felt new. The rustle of leaves, the hum of cars far away, the call of birds overhead. The aliens looked around in wonder. Nexa flinched when a car passed nearby, its engine roaring like an animal. Lyra touched the wooden fence beside the road, feeling its rough texture. "So strange," she whispered in her own tongue. When they reached Ethan's home, he turned to them. "It's not much," he said, pointing at the small wooden house surrounded by tall trees. "But it's safe." They didn't understand his words, but his calm voice and steady movements told them they could trust him, for now. He opened the door slowly and stepped inside. Lyra and Nexa followed, their eyes wide. The house was filled with smells they couldn't name, soap, food, wood, and something warm. The walls felt alive, humming faintly with the energy of electricity. Nexa touched a glowing lamp on the table and gasped when light filled the room. She pulled her hand back quickly. "It listens," she said, half afraid. Ethan smiled. "Light," he said, pointing to it. "Light," Lyra repeated softly. "Light." She seemed fascinated by everything. To her, this world was both strange and beautiful. Ethan led them to the kitchen and placed some food on the counter. Bread, water, fruit. The aliens hesitated. Lyra remembered the food from earlier and smiled faintly. Nexa still looked suspicious but followed her sister's lead. After they ate, Ethan motioned toward the bathroom. "You need to clean up," he said, gesturing toward the door. They didn't understand the words, but his gestures were clear. He turned on the light, revealing a small tiled room with a sink, a mirror, and a glass cubicle. Steam filled the air as he turned a metal handle. A sudden rush of water poured down from above. The sound was loud but soft, like rain trapped inside the house. The aliens both jumped back, startled. "It's okay," Ethan said, smiling. "Just water, warm." He put his hand under the stream and let the water flow over his fingers. Lyra's eyes widened. She stepped closer, the light reflecting in her silver blue eyes. "Water," she whispered. She stretched her hand forward and felt the warm drops fall onto her skin. A shiver ran through her. "It's alive," she said softly to Nexa. Nexa frowned, unsure, but curiosity pushed her closer. The warmth spread over her hand and her expression softened. "It's strange," she said. "But not bad." Ethan laughed quietly. He picked up a towel and placed it on a hook, trying to show them what it was for. Then he stepped out of the bathroom, giving them privacy. "I'll be outside," he said, closing the door behind him. Inside, the aliens stared at the falling water. They had never seen anything like it. On their planet, water was precious, controlled by machines, recycled endlessly. It never fell freely like this, never felt so warm or gentle. Lyra touched the stream again, then stepped under it fully. The water ran through her hair, over her face and shoulders. She gasped at the feeling, soft, powerful, and clean. She laughed, a bright sound that echoed off the walls. Nexa blinked in surprise. "What are you doing?" "Try it," Lyra said, smiling. "It feels wonderful." Nexa hesitated, but then stepped in beside her. The two sisters stood under the water, laughing like children discovering a new world. They didn't know what soap was, but they enjoyed the feeling of the warm water on their glowing skin. For a few minutes, they forgot their fear. They forgot their broken ship, the danger of being found, the rules of their people. In that small human room, surrounded by steam and light, they felt something they never had before. Freedom. Outside, Ethan leaned against the wall, listening to their laughter. He smiled to himself. Guess they like showers, he murmured. But then his smile faded as his eyes moved to the small alien device he had taken from their ship earlier. It was blinking softly, tiny red light pulsing in rhythm. He frowned. "What are you?" he whispered. Inside the bathroom, the laughter stopped. Lyra looked at her sister suddenly, sensing something. "Do you feel that?" she asked. Nexa's expression changed. "Yes, a signal. The ship is calling again." They turned off the water quickly and looked at the window. The sunlight outside looked the same, but the feeling in the air had changed. The beacon from their ship was still active, and someone might be coming for them. Ethan knocked on the door lightly. "Everything okay?" he asked. Lyra opened it a little, her wet hair falling over her shoulders. She looked calm, but her eyes told a different story. "Yes," she said, the only word she had learned clearly. He nodded, smiling. "Good." But as he turned away, the blinking light reflected faintly on the wall, unseen by him. Lyra looked at it, her face turning serious. "We can't stay long," she whispered. Nexa nodded. "Then we must decide soon, if we trust him." And so the water still dripped softly from their hair, marking the end of their first moment of joy, and the beginning of something far more dangerous. The morning turned into a quiet afternoon. Soft light filled Ethan's small home as he fixed tea in the kitchen. From the bathroom, faint sounds of laughter and dripping water still echoed in his mind. He couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. Two alien women, standing under his shower like they had discovered fire for the first time. He rubbed his forehead. "This is crazy," he whispered. "I'm helping aliens take a bath in my house." He looked down at the strange metal device on the table, the one he had taken from their ship. The small red light blinked slowly, almost like a heartbeat. He didn't know what it meant, but something about it made him uneasy. Meanwhile, inside the bathroom, steam still floated in the air. Lyra and Nexa stood before the mirror, their glowing skin dimmed slightly under the warm light. Water droplets clung to their hair like tiny crystals. They stared at their reflection, fascinated. Lyra reached out and touched the mirror. "It's another world," she said softly. Nexa frowned. "It copies us. How can humans make something like this?" She turned to the shower again, watching the last drops of water fall from the metal pipe. "This water. It made me feel alive, free." Lyra smiled faintly. Maybe this is what humans feel every day. But their moment of peace broke when they heard a loud clang from the kitchen. Nexa jumped. What was that? They stepped out slowly, their wet clothes clinging to their bodies. Ethan looked up in surprise when he saw them. You're supposed to dry off," he said awkwardly, holding up a towel. They didn't understand, but they could sense his confusion. Lyra took the towel and studied it. Then she copied what he did, rubbing her hair with it. Nexa followed, still suspicious of the human's strange customs. Ethan smiled nervously. "Good, you're learning." But then from outside came a deep humming sound. The window glass trembled slightly. Ethan frowned and looked outside. Nothing yet, but something was there, something powerful, flying above the clouds. Lyra froze. Her senses sharpened instantly. "The signal," she whispered in her language. "They've found us." Nexa's eyes widened. "No, not so soon." Ethan noticed their sudden fear. "What's wrong?" he asked. "What's happening?" They couldn't explain. Instead, Lyra ran to the table and pointed at the blinking device. "Stop this," she said in broken English. "Danger!" Ethan finally understood the urgency. He grabbed the device and looked for a switch. "How do I—" Before he could finish, the light changed from red to bright blue, pulsing faster. A sharp sound filled the room like static. The signal had gone out. From the sky above the forest, a faint blue beam shot upward from the wrecked ship, cutting through the clouds. Far beyond the atmosphere, something answered. Lyra stepped back, shaking her head. "They are coming." Ethan's pulse quickened. "Who's coming?" "Velerin," she said, pointing upward. "Our people, soldiers." He didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified. "They'll help you, right?" Nexa shook her head firmly. "No, they will destroy." "No witnesses." The air felt heavier. Ethan ran to the window again and saw the faint shimmer of light moving in the sky. It wasn't lightning, it was a ship descending slowly, hidden among the clouds. "Damn it," he said under his breath. "We have to move." Lyra looked at him, uncertain. "You help us?" He nodded without hesitation. Yes, but we have to leave now. They rushed outside, the cool air hitting their damp skin. The forest around them felt alive again, every sound sharper, every shadow darker. Ethan led them through the trees toward an old shed he used for repairs. As they ran, Nexa tripped over a fallen branch. Lyra turned back to help her, but Ethan stopped and looked up. The sky was glowing faintly blue now. He could see the outline of something massive breaking through the clouds. It was silent, smooth and cold. No flames, no noise, just presence. Faster, he whispered, pushing them forward. They reached the shed and slipped inside. Ethan shut the door quietly. The three of them stood there, breathing hard. Lyra looked at him, eyes wide. Why? She asked. He frowned. Why what? Why you help us? You don't know us. He looked at her for a moment, then said quietly, because you were scared, and no one deserves to be hunted when they're just trying to survive. Nexa turned away, conflicted. She wanted to trust him, but her instincts screamed caution. Lyra, however, felt something new, a connection she didn't understand. Outside, the air shimmered again. A deep hum rolled through the forest, followed by a flash of blue light. The Valoran ship had arrived, invisible but near. Ethan tightened his grip on the metal wrench in his hand. Whatever happens, he said quietly, we stay together. Lyra nodded. Nexa whispered, then chaos has already begun. And outside, under the gathering storm, alien shadows moved between the trees, searching, listening, hunting for the two who dared to disobey. The forest was no longer quiet. A low hum filled the air, rising and falling like a deep heartbeat. Lyra, Nexa, and Ethan stayed hidden inside the small wooden shed, listening. Every sound outside felt louder than before. The crack of branches, the distant rustle of leaves, the faint hum of alien engines above. Ethan's hands were covered in dirt and sweat as he checked the metal toolbox beside him. He didn't know what he could do against a spaceship, but staying still wasn't an option. The aliens sat close, whispering softly in their own language. Nexa pressed her hand against her chest. They are near, she said quietly. I can feel their signal. Lyra closed her eyes. I can too. It's strong now. They must have landed nearby. Ethan looked at them both. What happens if they find you? He asked. Nexa met his eyes. They take us back, punish us. Maybe erase us. Erase? Ethan repeated. She nodded slowly. Valoran code. No traitors. No witnesses. The words sent a cold chill through him. He looked outside the shed window. Through the trees, faint blue lights blinked like stars between branches. Then we can't stay here, he said. We moved deeper into the woods. Lyra shook her head. No use. They will track us by the beacon. She pointed at the small alien device still in Ethan's pocket. It sends our life signal. He pulled it out quickly. Can we destroy it? Nexa took it carefully. If we break it wrong, it can explode. It's built to stop humans from touching it. Ethan thought for a moment, then grabbed a small magnet from his work tools. What if we block the signal instead? He pressed the magnet against the surface. The blinking light flickered, then went dark. Lyra's eyes widened. You stopped it, he smiled faintly. Just an old trick, electromagnet interference. For the first time, Nexa looked at him with real respect. You are not as primitive as I thought. Ethan smirked. I'll take that as a compliment. The moment almost felt light, but the tension didn't fade. Outside, the sound grew louder, a ship engine hovering low, scanning the forest. Blue light flashed through the cracks in the shed walls. Lyra stood and moved toward the door, peeking through a small gap. She saw shadows moving, tall figures in dark armor, glowing blue lines running down their arms. Valoran soldiers. Her chest tightened. They brought hunters. Nexa's face turned pale. Then it's over. No, Ethan said quickly. Not yet. He reached for the shed's back wall and started pulling away the loose boards. There's a way out behind us, quietly. The three slipped out through the back, crouching low as they moved into the trees. The forest floor was damp and soft under their feet. Lyra glanced up. The ship above was shaped like a silver wing, silent but terrifying. They kept moving until the hum faded behind them. Ethan led them toward a cave he knew from his childhood, hidden behind a waterfall. The sound of rushing water covered their movements. When they finally reached it, Nexa collapsed against the rock wall, breathing hard. We can't keep running, she said. They will search everywhere. Lyra knelt beside her sister. We just need time. Maybe they will leave when they find the ship empty. Ethan looked toward the waterfall, his mind racing. You said they erase witnesses, he said quietly. That means they'll search the whole area. Humans might get hurt. Lyra's eyes softened. I'm sorry, she said. We didn't want this. Ethan shook his head. Not your fault. For a moment, only the sound of the waterfall filled the cave. Then faintly, a soft beeping came from Nexa's wristband. She looked down in horror. The signal is still active. Lyra froze. How? We stopped the beacon. It's not the beacon, Nexa said. It's me, my suit. It's transmitting vital signs. Ethan's eyes widened. You're saying they can track you? Nexa nodded slowly. Yes, my body sends a code to their network. As long as I live, they will follow. Silence filled the cave. Lyra looked at her sister, her face pale. Then what do we do? Nexa looked at the ground. I could stop it. If I disable the code inside me. Ethan frowned. Disable how? Her voice dropped. I have to stop my pulse for a moment. Just long enough to confuse the system. Ethan stood up quickly. No, that's too dangerous. But Nexa was already pressing her hand to a small control on her arm. It's the only way. Lyra grabbed her wrist. You can't. You might not wake up. Nexa smiled faintly. If I don't, at least you'll live. Before they could stop her, she pressed the button. A sharp light flared from her wrist and her body went still. Her eyes closed. The device blinked twice, then stopped. Ethan stared, panic rising. Nexa! Lyra held her sister tightly. Come back, she whispered, shaking her. Seconds felt like hours. Then finally Nexa gasped and opened her eyes. The light on her wrist was gone. The signal was dead. Lyra hugged her, relief flooding her face. You're alive. Ethan let out a long breath. You did it. Outside, the hum faded into the distance. The Valoran ship began to move away, searching elsewhere. For now, they were safe. But none of them spoke. The quiet after danger felt too heavy. Lyra stared into the falling water, thinking of what they had lost and what they had yet to face. Because even though the signal was gone, something deeper had begun between them, something the universe itself might not forgive. The cave was silent except for the steady rhythm of falling water. Dim light filtered through the thin curtain of the waterfall, making ripples of silver across the walls. Lyra sat near her sister, who was still weak after what she had done. Nexa's breathing was slow but steady now, her pulse faint yet alive. Ethan sat near the entrance, watching the forest through the water. Every sound made him tense, the crack of branches, the distant hum of engines that still lingered in the air. He didn't trust the silence. They might come back, he said quietly. Lyra turned her head toward him. They will. Valoran ships never give up their target. Ethan nodded, his eyes fixed on the forest. Then we'll have to keep moving. Maybe find somewhere they can't track you. Nexa opened her eyes slowly. There's nowhere they can't reach. Not on this planet. If they want us, they'll come. Her voice was calm, almost resigned. Lyra touched her hand gently. You stopped your signal. They think we're gone. That gives us time. Nexa looked at her sister, then at Ethan. Time for what? To run again? To hide forever? No one answered. The question hung in the damp air. Ethan broke the silence first. Maybe it's time to stop running. Maybe we can fight back. Lyra tilted her head, curious. Fight them with what? You have no ships, no weapons that can match theirs? He shrugged. Maybe not. But humans have a way of surviving things we shouldn't. And I'm not about to hand you over to anyone. Lyra looked at him closely. There was no fear in his voice, only determination. You would fight your own extinction for people you just met? He smiled faintly. You're not people I just met. You're people who needed help. That's enough. For a moment, neither of the sisters spoke. On Valora 9, kindness was weakness. But here, in this small cave on a strange world, kindness had become their only hope. Nexa sat up slowly, still pale, but alert. Even if we hide, they will notice the ship's signal has stopped. They will send more. Ethan rubbed his chin. Then maybe we make them look somewhere else. How? Lyra asked. He pointed toward the broken device he had used to block the signal. We can use that. Send out a false trail, something that tells them you're far from here. Lyra's eyes lit up with understanding. We can change the signal direction. Ethan nodded. Exactly. We lead them away. Then we disappear. They worked together, the strange team of human and aliens. Ethan connected old wires from his toolbox while Lyra used the glowing interface from her wrist to reroute the beacon. Nexa, though weak, guided them through the process. Hours passed slowly. The sound of the waterfall mixed with the quiet hum of alien technology. Finally, the small light blinked again, this time pulsing green. "It's done," Lyra said softly. "It's sending the signal east toward the mountains." Ethan looked up. "Will they believe it?" Nexa nodded. "They have to. Their scanners only see energy trails, not lies." A small smile crossed Ethan's face. "Then we've bought ourselves time." Lyra exhaled, relief washing over her. But inside, she knew time was only part of the problem. Trust was the other. She watched Ethan closely, the way he moved, the way he protected them without asking for anything. It made her heart feel strange, heavy, and warm at once. When the signal was set, Ethan sat back tired. The sun had started to fade outside, turning the waterfall into a curtain of gold. "You two should rest," he said. "We'll move when it's dark," Lyra nodded. Nexa leaned back against the wall, her eyes half closed. "I still don't trust him," she murmured. "I know," Lyra said softly. "But he saved us more than once." "That doesn't mean he understands what we are," Nexa replied, her voice fading. Lyra looked toward Ethan again. He was staring at the water, lost in thought. "Maybe understanding isn't what matters," she whispered. As night fell, rain began outside. The sound mixed with the waterfall, creating a soft, endless rhythm. Ethan checked his tools again, keeping himself awake. He didn't want to sleep while the storm raged. Lyra moved closer, sitting beside him. "You don't rest?" she asked gently. He shook his head. "Not when I have people to protect." She studied him for a moment, then said quietly, "On our world, no one protects others without order or reward. You do it by choice." He looked at her, his expression soft. "Maybe that's what makes us human." Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "Maybe that's what makes you different." Outside, lightning flashed, lighting up their faces for a brief second. In that light, something passed between them, unspoken, fragile, but real. The rain grew heavier. Nexa stirred in her sleep, whispering something in her own language. Lyra didn't move. She just sat beside the human, listening to the storm. Her mind torn between two worlds, the one she left behind and the one she was beginning to care for. And as the thunder rolled far above, Ethan whispered, "When morning comes, we'll make a choice. Run or stand." Lyra didn't answer. She just looked toward the sky through the thin cracks of the cave roof, wondering if her people were already watching, and what she would do when they finally arrived. Because every story, she realized, must face its turning point, and hers was coming fast. The night passed slowly, heavy with rain and quiet tension. When morning came, the forest was covered in mist. Every leaf sparkled with drops of water, and the sound of the waterfall was softer, almost peaceful. Inside the cave, Ethan woke first. His body was tired, but his mind was alert. He looked around at the two alien sisters still sleeping close to the wall, their breathing calm, their faces peaceful under the dim light. For a moment, he forgot the danger above them. He saw only two lost beings who wanted to live just like anyone else. But peace never lasted long. When he stepped outside to check the forest, he froze. In the distance, beyond the trees, a faint blue light shimmered across the clouds. He knew that light. The Valoran ship had returned. Ethan rushed back inside. "They're here," he said. Lyra's eyes opened instantly. Nexa sat up, still weak but alert. The air in the cave felt colder. "They followed the false signal," Lyra said. "But they found the truth." Ethan grabbed his bag and checked his tools. "Then we move now." They ran through the forest, staying close together, their feet splashing in the wet mud. The sky above rumbled again, the blue light growing brighter. Lyra looked up once and saw the ship breaking through the clouds, its engines humming like thunder. "We can't outrun them," Nexa said breathlessly. "Their scanners will find us anywhere." Ethan stopped, breathing hard. "Then we stop running." Lyra looked at him in shock. "You want to fight them?" He nodded. "We end this now. Your beacon's broken, your signal's gone. If we can stop them here, you can stay free." Nexa shook her head. "You'll die, human." "Maybe," he said, "but not without trying." They reached the edge of the forest where Ethan's small house stood. The crash site was only a short distance away, still hidden under trees. The air smelled of metal and smoke. Lyra looked at the house, remembering the first time she had entered it, wet and curious, amazed by something as simple as a human shower. That moment felt like another life now. Ethan ran inside, gathering anything useful. Metal rods, fuel, a few circuits from the alien device. If we can overload their landing signal, maybe it'll force them to back off, he said quickly. Lyra and Nexa helped, their glowing hands steady and sure. The plan was desperate, but it was all they had. Then came the sound. A deep mechanical roar followed by a beam of blue light cutting through the forest. The Valoran ship landed nearby, shaking the ground. From its open ramp stepped 3 armored figures. Tall, silent, with glowing visors and weapons that hummed like electricity. They moved in perfect rhythm, scanning everything around them. Lyra's pulse quickened. "They're here." Ethan looked at her and said quietly, "Whatever happens, don't let them take you." She wanted to argue, but the words never came. Nexa pulled her sister behind a tree as the soldiers spread out. Ethan stayed low, holding the small device wired with his own makeshift tech. When the first soldier stepped closer, Ethan threw the device into the open ground. A sudden flash of light burst through the trees, blinding the aliens for a moment. The signal erupted in static and the ship's systems faltered, the blue glow flickering. "Now!" Ethan shouted. Lyra and Nexa ran forward. Lyra raised her hands, her glowing skin pulsing brighter. The Valoran tech responded to her command instinctively. The soldiers froze, their armor flickering as she disrupted their energy link. Nexa turned the other way, smashing one of the soldiers' weapons against a rock. Sparks flew, lighting the wet ground. The fight wasn't perfect, it was chaotic, desperate, and loud. Ethan picked up a metal rod and swung it with all his strength, striking one of the soldiers. The alien staggered back, electricity sparking from his armor, but another beam fired past him, burning the ground. He ducked, heart pounding. "Go!" he shouted to the sisters. "Get to the ship." Lyra hesitated. "Not without you." The Valoran captain appeared from the ramp, his armor shining dark blue, his voice deep and cold. "Return to your command, Lyra of Valora," he said. "You broke the code." She stood firm. "Then I break it again." She raised her glowing hands, focusing all the remaining power of her body. The energy built around her like a storm. Nexa grabbed her shoulder. "Lyra, stop. It will destroy you." "I know," she whispered. "But it's the only way." A blinding light filled the forest. The Valoran ship trembled as its systems overloaded. The soldiers fell back, their armor shutting down. The captain shouted something, but his words vanished in the storm of light. When it ended, the ship was dark. The engines stopped. The forest was silent again except for the falling rain. Lyra dropped to her knees, her glow fading. Ethan caught her before she hit the ground. "It's over," he said softly. Nexa knelt beside them, tears mixing with the rain. "You saved us, but they'll come again." Ethan looked toward the horizon. "Then we'll be ready next time." They stayed like that for a while, the rain washing over them. Lyra opened her eyes weakly. "Ethan," she whispered. "I understand now. Why humans love the rain, it feels alive." He smiled faintly. "It's the closest thing we have to home." Later, as the storm faded, Ethan helped them back inside the small house. The power was gone, the lights dead, but the bathroom still worked. Lyra turned on the shower one last time. The warm water fell softly, washing away the dirt and smoke. She stood there quietly, remembering everything. The crash, the fear, the wonder, the kindness. Nexa joined her, and together they let the water fall over them like a blessing. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, and the forest glowed with new light. Ethan watched through the doorway, tired but smiling. For now they were safe, and in that simple moment, 3 lives from different worlds stood together under the same sky, bound by something greater than survival. Not war. Not fate, but choice.